Hello again, my name is Anita Gallagher. Let's get started with today's webinar from HIPGive on the subject of how to use Giving Tuesday for a winning year-end campaign. I hope you can all hear me properly and see the presentation on the screen. If you have any questions, please do use the question part of your dashboard on GoToWebinar control panel. By default, your microphones are muted, but please do use the chat and the questions if you want to get in touch with us. We'll try and keep an eye on the questions as we go along, and there'll be time at the end to answer any other questions or queries that you may have. Today we are talking about Giving Tuesday, but really this is the middle of a very busy autumn in HIPGive on our crowdfunding platform. Yesterday we had a very successful contest called Latinos Give Their Vote, celebrating Latino civic participation. For our organizations in Mexico, we're gearing up for the 5th of October, which is Crowdfunding Day in Mexico. And of course, we're looking forward to Giving Tuesday, which is going to be on the 29th of November this year. Now, we will be doing a more official launch with more information about our entire plans for Giving Tuesday contest later on in October. But we also note that like any big campaign, and especially Giving Tuesday that's grown so much, that your campaign and your initiatives are going to be so much more successful if you have time to do your homework, as they say. So this is why we are making the most of the time available to us and moving ahead with the information that will help you plan out your campaigns and make the most of Giving Tuesday this year. So we'll be looking at three things today. Why Giving Tuesday? In case you're not familiar with it, just a brief summary. And we'll be telling you a little bit more about the Latinos Give contest, which is HIPGive's contribution to helping you have the best Giving Tuesday. And then we have a special guest who will be telling us a little bit more about how to use storytelling to drive your success in Giving Tuesday. We know that there's a lot of noise, a lot of activity, a lot of things going on in the year end. And we think that really storytelling, using your story and building a strategy around how you tell that story is going to be one of the best ways that you'll be able to have a standout campaign that rises above everyone else. And in case you haven't been with us before, my name is Anita Gallagher. I lead the training and outreach program at HIPGive. I'm normally accompanied by my colleague Eileen Murphy. Now, she's away right now, but I do want to know that she's always available to help you with any queries or questions. She leads our marketing and our community, and she's the first point of contact for organizations who are submitting projects through the platform. There are our contact details. And I'm very happy to have with us today our special guest, Samuel Casanova. He is a co-founder of SimpleChange, which is an organization that helps organizations tell stories for social change and boost their work through the art of storytelling. He's based in Monterrey in Mexico. He works with Forbes Mexico on social entrepreneurship issues. He works with CSR and soft tech. They're specialists in giving storytelling workshops. So it's a real privilege to have Samuel with us here today to be able to delve into a lot more detail about the skills and arts of storytelling. So the first question for today is why Giving Tuesday? Now, maybe you're one of the few people on the planet who hasn't heard of Giving Tuesday by now. It's a global movement. It's really grown over the years since its founding about 5 years ago. It's fueled by the power of social media and collaboration. It's really an idea that's firmly rooted in the 21st century. It's celebrated on the Tuesday following Thanksgiving as a kind of an antidote to the consumerism, to the materialism of Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It's a way to give people an opportunity to give something back, and it's carefully positioned at the start of the charitable season of the December holiday season, when many people focus on their end-of-year giving. So it's really a very simple idea. As our thoughts turn to the end of the year and how it's gone, and we sum up what we've achieved, that we should also turn our thoughts to how we can give and how we can help other people. And as we do so, we share that on social media and we encourage other people to give more and to give to others. How does it work? In case you're not familiar, it's a kind of an open source movement. It's not a campaign. It's not centrally directed. It was initiated by 92Y, which is a community center based in New York. But it's very different to the old style campaigns of telethons or direct mail campaigns or publicity campaigns of the 80s and 90s. Anyone can get involved. So businesses are encouraged to give in-kind donations, cash donations, giving matching dollars, doing volunteering schemes, whatever they feel is appropriate to their strategy for becoming involved in the community. Schools can get involved in similar ways. Families are encouraged to get involved to develop the values and the traditions of philanthropy within the family. And of course, for nonprofits, it's an amazing opportunity kind of to just raise our hands and say, well, if you want to get involved in Giving Tuesday, here I am. We're doing great work. We can use your money to make real change in this world, or we can use your support, your volunteer hours, your in-kind donations. Really, the world is full of possibilities of how you can engage people in the Giving Tuesday movement. What I do want to say is that sounds simple, and yet it's so full and so rich of possibility. Firstly, because it's a platform. As I said, it's like an open source kind of technology, a bit like Wikipedia, a bit about like open source software, where we can all add, build, modify, and make something new from this base, from this platform that they have given to us. It's a very dynamic movement. It changes, it evolves. It's very different now to what it was when it began. And that's because we're all contributing. So in each country, Giving Tuesday, or we call it Un Día para Dar in Latin America, has really adopted a different shades of personalities, but it's still a very young movement. And so we can all contribute to how it is experienced in the places where we work. And finally, it's a movement that's really driven forward by digital communication, by social media. Beforehand, there was an idea maybe that when you gave a donation, when you made a philanthropic gesture, that it was the right thing to do to keep it to yourself. There was a certain dignity in the privacy of that act. And anyone who was seen to be talking publicly about their great philanthropic activities could be seen to be massaging their own ego. And I really think that nowadays that image has changed, and there's a lot of value to be had in not only doing good things, but sharing those good things on social media with our friends and families and other circles, because we can build a message that there are positive things that we can do, and we can encourage more people to follow our example by sharing. So that's a brief overview of why it works. There have been over the years certain people who are skeptical about the initiative, and there's still some naysayers out there. And HIPGive, we're very much in favor of Giving Tuesday. We recognize the world of possibility that it has. And I just wanted to put up here a couple of pieces from thought leaders. There's an influential digital marketing expert called John Hayden. He did a little survey of people that he's in touch with, thought leaders on the subject of social marketing and nonprofit fundraising. And two of the ones that stood out for me was a comment from Farah Trumpeter, who works for Big Duck. She says, Giving Tuesday has grown in popularity, recognition, and success to a point where I don't think nonprofits can afford to ignore it. So really, it has grown so big that by not engaging with it, we're missing out on a lot of opportunities. And Julia Campbell, who runs social marketing, jcsocialmarketing.com, she says that Giving Tuesday is a national day of giving, and it gets a ton of media coverage. People search on the hashtag all day long. People that have never made a donation online give for the first time that day. You might not raise millions, but you may get new eyeballs on your cause, new ambassadors to spread the word, and best of all, new donors. So really that coincides with our thinking in HIPGive. It's an excellent opportunity. You don't necessarily need to make it the biggest event of your year. Certainly if you have a busy schedule of activities and you already have end of year campaigns in place, well, then you don't need to invent something radically new for Giving Tuesday, but it's a great opportunity to get more visibility and get more people talking about your cause, and hopefully doing a great crowdfunding campaign to convert that interest and visibility into funds for your ongoing work. If I were to add my own personal opinion, it's that Giving Tuesday is a real opportunity to change the rules. I think that especially when we're organizations working at local or regional levels, we tend to view the world as being finite, certainly the world of the number of donors or the amount of funds that we could raise in any given area, as being limited. And it ends up making us think that, like the illustration on the screen, that we're fighting over our slice of the pie, as it were, our piece of cake. And I think that Giving Tuesday is such a powerful message, and the promotion, the visibility that we can gain from it is so significant that it's a game changer. It means that we're not fighting over the same slices of pie, but we're able to multiply and make that pie or make that cake even bigger so that there's enough to go around for everybody. That's the value in spreading this Giving Tuesday message, where we're inviting people to celebrate generosity, to give to the organizations that they identify with and that they support. And it really will make a difference, therefore, not just in how much people give, but how many new people are inspired to give on that day. Now, in HIPGive, as I said, we're really behind the Giving Tuesday movement. We are following on from our success of last year's campaign and calling our initiative this year Latinos Give. It reflects our understanding that in the US and in Latin America, Latinos are not just takers, we're not just recipients, but we're givers. We love to give in so many ways, and that's something that can be celebrated. So in 2015, in HIPGive, we had over 75 organizations from 10 countries, and collectively they raised $226,000 in a space of 24 hours. So really, that shows you just how much of an impact crowdfunding can have on a giving day such as this. And it's the same all around the world. There's not a lot of statistics available, but for example, between 2014 and 2015, overall in the US, there was an increase in online giving of 52%. So there really is a bump on that day. People are so much more excited about giving on Giving Tuesday than lots of other days of the year. And we want to help organizations put themselves on the map on Giving Tuesday. On our Latinos Give on Giving Tuesday contest on November 29th, we're going to have between $20,000 and $40,000 in matching funds that we want to give to you to help motivate your donors and yourselves to get the word out. We'll be sharing more concrete information about the exact amount, about the limit, for example, if it's going to be $100 or $200 are going to be the limit for the match, and the times of the day that those matching funds will be released. That will be released, and we will share that information in a couple of weeks. Those matching funds are open to all social impact projects run by nonprofits in the US and Latin America. We've had different contests throughout the year, and they're often thematic, focusing on women, or yesterday focusing on civic participation. But our Giving Tuesday contest is open to all different types of social impact projects. We'll also be moving ahead with creating and promoting mini websites for each country. So on the screen, you have an example of our Guatemala Gives image. Now, again, these are preliminary. We're working on unveiling how the mini sites will look. But we'll have a different site for each country to encourage donors to be able to search and find the projects that they identify with most in the country or the region that they identify with most. And we'll be working with leaders in each country to join up with our campaign to give us even more visibility and linkages into key actors in each of those countries. And finally, we'll be producing a toolkit with images, phrases, hashtags, just a set of things that will make your life a little bit easier, and when it comes to communicating your participation in the campaign and linking into this national and international movement. So that's a little bit of what's to come from us. Like I said, we'll be sending out more information over the course of the following weeks. And so maybe the next question that you have is, well, that sounds great. I want to be on board. I want to participate in that contest. But how can I run the best campaign possible? How can I make sure that my communications and crowdfunding campaign does justice to the work that we do and really impacts people and converting their interest into a willingness to donate on that day? And on that subject, a lot has been said about storytelling. It's such a popular kind of concept, catchphrase nowadays. But we believe that it really is a very useful communication strategy, and it's so relevant to the end of the year when we're competing for that attention span of our audiences, of our donors and our potential donors. We want to really stand out, and we also want to connect into their emotions and stimulate empathy. We know that those are the things that will really make people want to give to our cause. So shall we say, in response to demand, we have been able to invite Samuel Casanova from SimpleChange to be with us today to tell us in a little bit more detail just how to go about crafting a story and a communication strategy around that story that will really make your Giving Tuesday campaign drive forward and help you reach the goal. Just before I pass the microphone over to Samuel, I do want to say that stay around, because at the end of his presentation, we'll be letting you know how 3 lucky organizations can have the opportunity to have free coaching sessions with Samuel and the team from SimpleChange. So stick around for that, please, because we'd love for you to be one of the organizations that can really perfect their storytelling strategy thanks to our work with SimpleChange. So Samuel, I hope you're there. I'm going to share your screen now.
Okay, I'm here.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for being with us today, and it's over to you.
Okay, tell me if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, brilliant. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay, well, so glad to be with you all, and so glad to have this opportunity to share some of my knowledge around storytelling with you and share this knowledge so you can use it in a really strong cause that causes also social change. So, well, as Anita explained, I'm from SimpleChange, and what's SimpleChange? Well, it's an organization that basically tells stories about social change. We are passionate. We're really crazy about these stories of the people or of the teams that are participating in this creation of the social impact around, well, first around Mexico and then around the world, because we are based on Mexico, so we try to tell, and we tell the stories of the Mexican social changers, as we call them. So, okay, I'm here to talk about storytelling, and you'll have two, I hope, two tools that you can take home. First one is how to craft a story, and the second one is how to build a strategy around this story. Okay, so why storytelling? It's something trendy. It's something like it's fashion. We are hearing this word so much. Well, they really know it. Stories have been around us all the time, and we, as this quote says, we live by stories, and also we change by story. Think about when a story that has changed you. Think about all the stories that you have lived, and it's a constant thing in our lives, stories. And also there are other things that we'll see based on data. So why stories? So as I told you, I'm sorry, this is in Spanish, but I'll make the translation. 65% of our conversations are built from stories, personal stories, and gossip. So just think in an average weekend, in an average week you have, and how many times are you asking to a partner, to your friend, I don't know, to maybe to a collaborator, to an associate, hey, what did you do yesterday? Hey, what did it happen to this guy, to that girl? Those are the stories and the gossips that make our conversations. Our conversation can be separate from stories and from gossip. So stories are there. But the question is, how do we use stories to our organization's benefit, to fulfill the objectives of our organization? And that's where storytelling enters. What's storytelling? How can I use it? Okay, so first I'm gonna show you two examples. This young man, he's called Vidal, and he was taken. Well, a guy named Brandon Stanton, who is the founder of Humans of New York, took his photo in the street and asked him a simple question: who's influenced you most in your life? And well, you see this young man, and you may assume that he would say, oh, maybe this popular artist, this popular athlete, or maybe a fictional character. But he said, my principal, Miss Lopez, principal, and also is a teacher. So Brandon was really motivated by this answer. That then he asked, okay, how has she influenced you? And that triggered, well, as you can see in the image, triggered an amazing answer that inspired Brandon to open a funding campaign for Vidal and for her teacher and for the school, only using this photograph and the story. And they were able to gather $1 million only by using the picture and a little story. Another similar example is Don Fidencio. I don't know if you saw it in the news. It was like a very viral image. Don Fidencio, he sells popsicles, ice popsicles, in this little car. And one day, I don't remember the name of the guy, but a guy stumbled upon Don Fidencio and asked him, hey, what are you doing? Fidencio told, well, I'm selling these popsicles to help my family. And this guy was really shocked because Don Fidencio is 89 years old. He shouldn't be selling ice popsicles in the street. He should be enjoying his retirement. So also he was really inspired and maybe angry because of the situation that Don Fidencio lives in, that he decided to post this picture and a little story on a crowdfunding campaign, asking just for $3,000. The surprise was that they gathered $300,000 for Don Fidencio, enough for him to retire and to help some of his family. So it was really amazing the impact he got just by posting the picture and a story. So what's in it? Why they were so successful? It's because the story and the emotions these images, these stories provoke in the audience. And well, this is an example of an image that tells a story, and you don't need words to describe it. It's just really, really strong, and it's a great way to show. Well, it's a way that you can tell a story without words. It's also really strong and not so commonly used, but I use it to make an example that even just pictures tell stories. Okay, so storytelling takes let's say the combination of two worlds, the world of stories and the world of businesses, organizations, ideas. In the middle of these worlds lies storytelling. So we define it like using the power of stories to achieve a goal of our business, of our organization, or idea. If we decide to use storytelling as our communication strategy, it's because we have a goal in mind, a goal that will help our organization grow, that will help our organization achieve an objective, a goal. If we don't have a goal, if we don't have an objective, then our story is just entertainment. It's just something to catch maybe the attention, but that doesn't have any direct consequence in my organization or in my idea. So what's the purpose of storytelling? How can I use it? There's a lot of ways to use storytelling, but I like to tell 4. So the first, it's pitching my idea, selling, or in this case, funding, using stories to get some funds, which is the case for Giving Tuesday. To create a community or to gain exposure. Let's say if our organization is new, or if we are having trouble creating some more allies or some people that come to our webpage, visit us, leave us comments, or talk about us. Well, stories are a great way to create community and exposure. As an impact evaluation tool, which is, it's kind of a complicated process, but stories also help us know if we are having a good impact in the community. And I'm going to tell a brief example about how this works. When I'm gathering or collecting stories, I usually make the same questions for the social entrepreneurs that I talk with. And while making these questions in a systematic way, I found out that making or the tracking impact was a really big problem for these entrepreneurs. And that was by asking their stories. Based on this, I took this data and I made it a workshop, an impact evaluation workshop, but like the beginning, starting to make the strategy of your impact evaluation before you see your impact. So that way I used the stories to make an impact evaluation, and then I took this data and made it a workshop. And the last one is to tell success and failure stories. It's really common to see success stories around the web, and I don't say it's bad. In fact, it's good, that it's really inspiring to see these stories. But if we want to be more original, to be more authentic, why not use failure stories? When have you seen an organization tell about, hey, this is the time that I failed? and I felt this way, and all my team felt this way, but we are working at this. Why telling failure, and why telling success? It involves being vulnerable. Stories have a certain component of vulnerability, so we have to be open to tell our success, but to tell also our failure in our organization. What stories can I tell? Okay, so the founders of the organization, our clients. Let's say our organization works not only with the community but also has a for-profit model. Okay, so we can tell stories about clients, about our team, volunteers, maybe students, maybe people who just asked us to volunteer in our organization, the donors or the investors. This works really well as a sense of empathy for other investors or donors. And what do I mean by that? If you ask your donors for stories like, hey, why did you invest in us? Why do you keep investing or donating your money with us? What's this thing that drives you, or what's this thing that makes you, that organization makes you inspired to donate to us? So that way you can show these stories to other possible donors or other possible investors, so they can see, hey, that guy invested because this organization is like this, like this, like this. Maybe I should invest as well. And of our community, as I told you before, if you have a for-profit model for clients, maybe you also there's a community that's going to where you have a direct impact. Okay, so let's tell the stories about this community. Okay, so now what are the elements that compose or to craft a story? First, this is not a superhero or a guy with superpowers, even though I portray it like that. It portrays a main character, the protagonist. And why do we need a protagonist in a story? Think about a TV show you like, maybe Game of Thrones, maybe The Walking Dead, maybe Stranger Things, or think about a book you like. I don't know, maybe Harry Potter. What happens when a loved character dies? You feel like you die as well, and you see even in the social media a lot of people crying because this character died. That's the power of a character, of having a main protagonist in the story. It generates a sense of empathy, a sense of, hey, I can relate to this guy. Hey, this guy is like me, so I'm more into this story. Next, it's not a happy tree. There are two different elements. First, the tree means having a place. Where is your story taking place? And the happy face is an emotion. What emotion you want your story to provoke in your audience? Happiness, sadness, fear, hope. What emotion you want to evoke in your audience? Why do we need emotion? Because emotions drive actions, and we need actions for all of our objectives. We need actions, and to really trigger these actions, we need emotions. We need different emotions for different stories to trigger different actions. But there has to be always present an emotion in our story. A plot, which means a logic sequence of events that from A to B to B to C, from B to C to C to D, there's a logic sequence. They are related. Conflict, and this shouldn't be seen as something like a fight, but a conflict or a problem, it's something that we are trying to solve, and maybe in that specific moment of time we couldn't, or right now we're trying to solve, or something we want to achieve, but we can't be in right away. Next, it's the climax or the peak moment of your story. It's not always has to be sad, even though I put this figure here. but it's the moment of the transformation where things maybe go well or things don't go well if you decide to tell maybe a failure story. To finish, we need to finish the story. If our story goes for trilogy and 8 books and 20 comics and 3 video games, well, we have to finish our story for our audience. A final message, something that our audience gets after the story, like this final knowledge or this final action that's triggered after the story, and it has to be authentic. Each organization, each person has a unique voice. Has a unique voice, so the story has to be unique as their voice. The once upon a time, it's been used infinity kind of times. So your organization has a unique voice. You have a unique voice that you should use it to tell the story. This also generates empathy in the audience, because they feel like, hey, maybe it feels like my friend is talking to me, or hey, it feels like my mother is talking to me, or like my aunt, my cousin, my associate, I don't know. But you have to be authentic when telling the story. Okay, so we saw the elements. Now, what's the structure of storytelling? Like, what's the steps we have to follow to craft the story? We have a hook, where I'm going to explain this one by one in the next slide. We start with the hook, then the challenge, the big idea, the solution or the how-to, the impact, and the call to action. And of course, everything has to be linked, has to have a logic sequence of events. And that's where we are going to start. First, the plot. What kind of plot can we use? The backstory. Disney tends to use this a lot. And an example is when it's telling how a princess was when she was young, when she was like a baby, what happened in their life. So it can unfold the story that's going to come, like, hey, the princess is having these problems, but because in their childhood something happened. That's the backstory. A flashback, it's a really common tool used in narratives and a story, is to go back in time and to tell something that has a direct impact in our present story. Foreshadowing is to give focus to an object that's going to have a direct impact in our story. For example, if I'm seeing a cell phone, let's say I was 15 years old when I saw my first cell phone, but I didn't consider it something relevant. 20 years later, I used that same cell phone to create a company that opens communications to rural communities, that has rural communities interact with other rural communities, etc. Something like that it's foreshadowing. And flash forward, I don't know if you can see it entirely, but flash forward is just going way beyond the story. It's something like telling your impact before you really tell it. So how it sounds is like, who could imagine, like, 2 years from now, Maria will have her own company, people to help them, and will people to help them, and that could sustain very well their children and their family. That's a flash forward. I'm telling the impact before going deep into explaining it. And it's in a question: how will you tell your story? Next, I'm sorry, it's the hook. I didn't translate the first thing, but in the hook we we introduce the perspective, the character, time, place, and situation. How are we going to tell the story? In first person, second person, third person, or the third person omniscient, who is the one that knows everything. And here we introduce our main character, the time, where it happened, the place, when, the situation, and we have to engage our audience. We have to start strong, so our audience keeps track with us and continues the story with us. Next, the challenge, it's the problem. So here we answer things like what's the need, what's the problem we are trying to address, and here we describe the moment of connection with the problem, or the moment of connection, let's say, or of our community. So we talk about this connection with the problem they have. Now the big idea, it's the moment of the transformation. So it's where everything goes either wrong or either right. It's a moment when we start telling or describing our solution. Not entirely, but we start to describe our solution. Like, how did you reach your aha moment? Or how did you reach your though moment? Though it's a reference from the Simpsons. The solution, here is where we describe how are we solving the problem. Why my solution, why the solution of my organization is working, or why it didn't work. And we here are details. Then the impact. What impact have you made this far? What is the change you have seen? If possible, you should talk about the numbers. I know it's really difficult sometimes to have really strong numbers, but it's highly important to mention some numbers. And if you don't have the strong numbers to sustain your impact, maybe combine these numbers with some qualitative information. And the call to action. If your story doesn't have a call to action, it's mere entertainment. It serves for nothing. At least for nothing for your organizations. You have to have a call to action for every story you're crafting and every story you are publishing in your media. So it's a what's next? What did you learn? What do you want your audience to do? Hey, I want you to donate. Hey, I want you to follow us on our social media. Hey, I want you to visit my web page, or hey, I want you to join us and to work with us. What do you want your audience to do? And it's always finish your story with a call to action, especially with this movement of Giving Tuesday that it's coming. Well, you have to have a call to actions to drive these people, this big audience, to support your organization. Okay, and if you have time, I recommend you to check the Arnold Palmer Hospital for Children and search in YouTube for Chloe's Wedding. It's a really emotional video that portrays very well how is the storytelling structure. Maybe you'll cry, but it's I don't do it on purpose, but it will help you a lot to visualize how the storytelling structure works. Now, that's the first part, how to craft my story, or the story of our organization, or the story I'm going to use. The next part is, how do I make a strategy around this story? Where do I have to go? And for that reason, we created this storytelling canvas, which is basically an adaptation from a business model canvas used for entrepreneurs who want to start their own business. So this gives them a little bit of light of what they are, what they want to achieve, and why they are different from the rest. So it starts with an objective. It's, why do I need a storytelling strategy? What's my goal? What's the thing that I want to achieve with this strategy? Then the audience. Who is my key audience? Whom do I need so this strategy is successful? Who is my main my most powerful audience that will help me make this strategy successful. Next is my value propositions, and this works in two ways. The first one is, why is my organization different? Why should we draw some light to my organization? Why people are going to turn and see my organization? And next is, why is my story important? What's in my story for the audience? What does my audience wins by hearing my story? Next one is the channels, is where I'm going to post my story, where I'm going to let everyone know that my story is there. Social media, maybe it's the traditional communication media, TV, radio, maybe it's banners on the street, or maybe it's a podcast. I don't know, but what channels can you use? What channels are you more are the strong for you, and are the strong are important for your audience, so you can make a match there. Next is the stories. Let's say, like, we already crafted our story, the story that we are going to use. So in this square, we just put this story, but we can use also another stories. This part serves to ask ourselves if we have stories that are able to fulfill our objective, and if these stories are inspiring enough to fulfill this objective. Then the key message, which is at the end of my story, what do I want my audience to get from this story? Then the resources, it's what do I need? Hey, do I need money, a certain amount of money to create this story? Maybe I'm going to make a video. Okay, so do I have the money to make the video? Yes. Okay. Yes, I have the money. Okay. Do I have a person inside my team that can make it? Well, no, I don't have it. Okay, so we have to hire someone, or to make or to talk with friends, so if someone can support us. Do I have the enough technological knowledge to launch this story? Yes. Okay, so what resources do you need to assure the success of this story, of this campaign? And finally, the metrics, which is what will tell you if your story was or not successful. In this case, I'm talking about the Giving Tuesday. It's really simple, because it's the amount of, could be the amount of money that you received, or the people donated to you. But you can also use maybe the social media interactions you had in the different channels. Maybe on Facebook we had 1,000, maybe on Twitter 10,000, maybe on Instagram 4,000. I don't know. Maybe also there are other metrics that could help you define if your strategy was or not successful. And finally, some 5 short advices for a successful story. First one, and I have mentioned it before and during this presentation: be authentic. Use your own voice. Use the voice of the organization, but don't create something that it's dull and then lacks of emotions. Second one, know your goal and audience. That's super important for every storytelling strategy and every communication strategy. And yes, and everything you have to do is based on what's your goal and who's your audience. It's recommended to have a visual support, images, video, photos. It's really difficult that people will pay attention if it's only text. Happens, yes, it happens, but in this case, and when fighting for the attention of the audience, you'll need to have a visual support. You saw the examples that I talked about, Don Fidencio and Vidal. Well, they had the visual support of a photograph. Maybe you could make a short video. Maybe you can make a comic. I don't know, but have something that goes with your story. It has to be short, either text or videos. Well, photos, they don't have to be short, but they have to be really visual. Short, and I mean 2 minutes. Like, if I shouldn't take more than 2 minutes to read your story, or I shouldn't take 2 minutes to see your story as a video. And the last one is target the emotions. What I told before, be clear on what emotion do you want to evoke in your audience. What emotion helps you achieve the goal you're targeting. You want to fulfill. It's happiness, it's sadness, it's fear, it's anger, it's hope, it's awesomeness. What's the emotion you want to evoke in your audience? And you should work from that emotion in all of your story. And that's all. Gracias. Here are our social media: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's my email and my webpage. Beforehand, I should tell you all our posts, all our information, it's in Spanish. I'm sorry for that. If you want something on English, or if you're interested on something, I can talk to you and tell you more. But if you want to follow us on social media, you're more than welcome. Thanks a lot.
Wonderful. Thank you very much indeed, Samuel. So, as I've said, that's not where our story ends today. We're going to have an ongoing working relationship with SimpleChange because, very fortunately, they have agreed to select with us 3 organizations and help provide personalized support to really fine-tune their storytelling strategy for Giving Tuesday campaigns. So here's the information about how you can get involved if you think that you could benefit from personalized storytelling coaching. What you need to do is register and create your project on HIPGive before October 14th. We do want to know that you have a campaign ready to go and that your story will feed into your campaign for crowdfunding on Giving Tuesday. Then by October 21st, we ask that you send us a draft of your story, hopefully using the structure that you've learned about in today's webinar. And we will review all those different ideas and proposals, and we'll select 3 organizations who will receive 2 coaching sessions in the run-up so they can prepare your story and your strategy between October 27th and November 11th. And then after Giving Tuesday, we'll have 1 follow-up evaluation and learning session so that you can find out how it worked and think about integrating storytelling better into your campaigns in the long run. So those sessions will be online. They'll be about half an hour each. And we do hope that you will be interested in making use of this great opportunity to fine-tune your storytelling for Giving Tuesday. So that's all from us today. I hope you find those ideas useful. As I said, I think it's great to have the focus that SimpleChange and Samuel bring to the storytelling concept, because you could have the best story in the world and not be able to communicate it to people in the right way, or not have a communication strategy built about to get it out there to the right audiences. Or you could have everything in place to have wonderful communication and campaign on Giving Tuesday, but if you don't structure that story in the right way to really connect with people's emotions and people's empathy, then you might also not achieve the impact that you'd hoped for. So I hope that's been useful. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Everyone's been quiet so far throughout the webinar today, Samuel. So do let us know if you have any more questions. We will be sending out a recording and copy of the presentations that we've used today. And also Samuel will be sending out a blank or a tool version of the canvas that he used so that you can plan out your own storytelling strategy using that useful tool. Okay, well, it appears that there's no questions. Maybe we've been very clear, or maybe it just takes time to sink in. So please, if you do have a question, a comment, a query, do get in touch with us. You can tag us on social media at HIPGive. You can write an email to our general email, which is accounts@hiponline, or get in touch with me using the emails that were on the screen at the start, and anita@hiponline.org. And we'll be sending out as well a quick link to a short evaluation. So that's also another way that you could send us any feedback or queries about getting your Giving Tuesday campaigns up and running. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Samuel, for all your help. And we'll say goodbye for now. We hope to see you soon on another HIPGive webinar and preparing your Giving Tuesday campaigns. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks you all. Have a great afternoon.